So you're scoping around for that really rare, special European car, and you have no idea what you're about to get into. Let's find out on these various cars you see, and even more that's not even in the shot. You can get really taken to the cleaners. Let's get started. So it's hard enough to find one of these vehicles. But you finally find that one you've been looking for all along, and it's probably going to be expensive, or it may not even be running at all and be kind of cheap. But even after you go through all the rigmarole to get it running, the upkeep annually never stops on any of these cars. How do you come across one of these cars? Just like this one is my good friend Bill's. You guys have seen lots of his cars on the channel. This is his 1988 Alfa Romeo Milano with the 3.0 Verde engine in it. It looks immaculate, and it's been a long road to get it here. He bought it on an auction site, which if you watch the video, which is linked below in the description, it'll give you more stories on what we went through. But Bill got taken advantage of, seriously. I'm not going to mention the name of the auction place because I don't need no legal troubles. But it was advertised, perfect running, immaculate, ready to roll, and it was everything as far as you could be from that. It didn't even run, the fuel system was bad, everything was bad on it. I think if you watch the video, I don't remember the exact number, but with the purchase price and the repairs, Bill is into this $30,000 or $40,000. On an original buy, I think he got it for $12,000. Again, I don't remember the exact numbers, but this is showing you how quickly it can spiral out of control if you don't have the finances to get one of these older specialty cars. They're awesome. I really love all these we're going to take a look today. They're really special cars. But they also need a special bank account to keep them going. So why is this one back again? We had everything running perfectly. Everything's doing very well. But he started having some electrical issues like the battery light coming on and flickering and all kinds of warning lights. He got it here and we took a look and found out just the alternator's dead. This is a special 3.0 Verde V6 engine, which I'll open the hood and we'll take a quick peek inside. But the alternator that goes to it, at least here in the United States, is almost impossible to find. Let's take a look. Here is our Verde engine. You can see it says 6C on it, and we've done timing belt and water pump and all kinds of service to this car. It runs perfect. It runs so good. Bill loves driving it. We do have a new, well, I guess remanufactured alternator. We were able to take the old one off, and he was able to take it to a local rebuilder. The internals were just a very easy cakewalk for him to rebuild. Got it replaced, all the bad parts. Put it back on, and now the warning lights are gone. So we're back to a functional, perfectly running Milano again. And to prove it to you, I'll go ahead and start it right up. Got a really good sound to it. It's got a exhaust we put on. Sorry for the beeping, guys, but it has a really nice exhaust on it. This thing is a hoot to drive. It is amazing. So this one we're going to prove some points as we go along to each vehicle. He bought it for 10 or 12, somewhere around in there, but after all the repairs, he's over $30,000 into it. So it's all fixed. It's going to stay that way, right? Hell no, it's not. It will never be completely fixed. It'll never stay fixed. The bill is going to keep climbing as long as he owns it. You have to accept that with one of these cars. It's part of the ownership. Keeping it going, keeping it happy. Let's move on to the next one. This one you've seen on a video, which is also linked in the description below. It's a 1992 Citroen XM. No, not satellite radio. It's not XM radio. It's XM. It's the model of this car. It came in cranking, but it wouldn't start. We've gone through and put a fuel pump and a whole bunch of things on it. And now it will turn on the fuel pump and work, but there were tons of fuel leaks. All the rubber fuel lines all through this system were just spraying gas. Said stop, just turn it off. We're going through it now. We're pulling the tank, going through all the lines and hoses and get that solved. It's going to be a long journey to get there. And again, there's only maybe a few customers in the world that'll tackle a job like this on a vehicle that's been sitting and not running. Eurasian Bob is one of them, because I know there'll be no fighting. He'll pay the bill and it'll be a positive result. He has an expectation. This is what I want. Just do that. I'll pay the bill. Thank you. And be happy about it. No fighting, no arguing. As with any of these old cars that you find has been sitting, customers call, it just needs a fuel pump. Hell no, it doesn't just need a fuel pump. Whenever you dive into one of these old cars, it's a cascade effect or a domino effect. You fix one thing to only find out that the thing down the line is bad also. So you get that fixed and the next thing is line, and it just keeps going and going. I've been in these situations where customers, where you've called them literally 17 times and they actually get mad. They're like, how? I didn't know this thing was that broke. This is starting to piss me off. I don't have this kind of money. You need to make sure ahead of time you know what you're getting into with one of these old European specialty cars. That is the purpose of this video. And just like Bill, we just showed you on his Milano, has thousands and thousands to get it to where it was, the same story will happen with this one. I've also learned the hard way. This is my 1969 Citroen DS. There's a link in the description for videos for it as well. We've done lots of videos on this one. It's a little dusty. It's been sitting for a little while, but we've gone through the suspension system, the pump, the hoses, the spheres, the green balls as they call them. We've got it running and driving. The suspension raises and lowers. It's a happy little car again, but I kind of tallied it all up. It's probably $8,000 to $10,000 in parts I have into this car. Just the parts. That's not including the hours of labor. Just the parts to get everything sorted. Again, it's a happy little car. It's for sale. It still has some tinkering with the carb and a few small tiny leaks on the steering rack. We're not going to dive in any further. I'm at my limit. I don't want to go any further with this car, but it is a perfect platform for someone who wants one of these. And yes, like I mentioned, it still has some tinkering to go with it. Any of these cars of this era, European cars, are going to have tinkering that's going to need to be done. You could buy one that says perfect, immaculate, only 5,000 miles on it. Immaculate. No, it's not. The first time you take it on a road trip, you will break down. You probably will have fluid all over the ground, or something's going to happen. No matter who worked on it, no matter how much money they dumped into it, these old European cars, or really any old car for that matter, needs constant work all the time. Actually, I have a family member who was thinking about getting an old car years ago. He says, I'd love to have that old car back in high school, but I know every weekend I'll be under the hood. I just don't have time for that. I'm not going to do it. This one we've also worked on 2 years ago. There's actually a video on it as well. In the description below, there's a link if you want to go watch it. It's a 1972 MGB. The last time it came in, we went through it and did some repairs on it. The customer loves this car. They've always wanted one of these, and we got it running beautiful, perfect. They were so happy with it. The lady that picked it up, she almost had tears in her eyes. She says, I'm so glad I get to drive my car again. And in the 2 years since we've worked on it, they've parked it in an airplane hangar, and when they went to start it, it wouldn't start, and there's several things not working. They brought it back, and we've actually already dove in. You're going to have to check out the next video coming out soon on it. What we found on this is so sad, but it still has to be fixed. So it's kind of the price of what it takes to keep one of these old cars running. It is what it is. But for a lot of people out there, it's worth it. They love these cars, and they want to keep them in top shape, and they want to enjoy driving them, and they understand it's going to be continual maintenance. Let's move on to the next one. It's a Jag, Mrs. Wizard.
I love Jaguars. It's beautiful.
This one is beautiful as well. Here's another avenue of a way that you can come across one of these really cool old cars, and you never even anticipated or planned on owning it, is when a family member who's gotten old and maybe has to go to a home, or possibly they've passed away, this was the love of their life. And now, here's the keys, here's the title, it's yours now. Because of the family member having medical issues, which this was normally kept in perfect shape for the past few years. They've not been on top of it because of medical reasons. It runs, it drives, it doesn't need major work. But the younger family member has now inherited this car, and they're like, what have I got myself into here? What are we talking about? I'm going to bring it to you guys, get me a list together of everything it needs. It's got some clunks and noises and it needs services. I just need to know where I'm at with this thing. I don't even know what I'm about to deal with here. Let me get the list. It's quite a long list. We have filmed some XJSs in the past, but not this particular one. And since we're not filmed this particular car in the past, let's go ahead and spend some time on this one. Actually go through the list and I'll let you guys check it out. The front upper control arm bushings are bad. There's some serious clunking going on up front. And by the way, Danielson has checked all this over and got this list together. The front shock bushings are bad, so when you do hit bumps, there's even another clunk of the shock bouncing up and down. Sway bar bushings and links are bad. The passenger side hood shock, which keeps the hood up, is not doing its job. The side view mirror motor is not working. Windshield washer fluid lines are clogged. The AC is not working, possibly do a conversion to R134. Several light bulbs are not working. It needs new tires. These ones are very, very old. And then it needs full services gone through, like the customer mentioned. They want to get that done. It needs oil change, coolant flush, transmission flush, differential service, brake fluid flush, all the belts, water pump, power steering, AC, all those belts need to be replaced. There's some vacuum lines that need to be replaced. And it's a really long list. All of this stuff can add up to a really big bill really fast. We're not going to just jump in and do all the work like we always do with every customer. We'll get the prices together. They can choose what they want to do or don't want to do. But I want to show you under the hood of this thing. This is back in the era of hoses on top of hoses and lines and pipes and hoses. It's actually kind of scary. All right, let's take a look.
Oh, come on, wizard. This is a Jag.
Yes, it opens the other way. It is the bonnet. It's an English car, so we're going to call it a bonnet today. This has a big V12, and I'll have the hood hold up here because, again, like Danielson found, this shock over here is not holding up. Look at that, guys. This is the era where a lot of older mechanics that were carburetor style mechanics, when they saw this kind of a setup, they put their tools in their toolbox and they're like, I'm done, I'm out, forget this. Hoses on top of hoses. All the emission system are run off of vacuum, vacuum servos, vacuum switches, thermotime switches, all those old style systems.
Oh, and it's got a bad curse word on it as well. Oh, no.
The Prince of Darkness. That's the ignition amplifier, for which commonly go bad on these. This one hasn't, luckily. So with any issues you find under here, which is scary enough, as you can see, the underlying issue here, even with the suspension, is rubber that is aged and failed. Rubber bushings, rubber hoses, rubber lines, rubber mounts. They're all showing age, disintegrating. And the thing that's really scary about these is maybe one or two items is bad on this engine is all it is. But to get to them, just merely touching any of these hoses, they're going to crumble. And the price just starts climbing and climbing. So we're going to let the customer know there's a few hoses we'd like to replace, but it's possible that others get disturbed. They could crumble because they're disintegrating. If they're not willing or happy about the idea of the bill climbing that fast, then we don't touch it, we leave it alone. These engines are amazing, they're so cool, they're smooth, and they're powerful. I really like the XJS V12s. They sound really cool when they start as well, like a Lambo almost.
Look at this gauge cluster. Isn't this beautiful? I'm in awe. It's just awesome. I love the spinning dials in the center and the standard gauges on the side with our tach and our speedometer. But look at that, 55,858 miles. And contrary to the, it hasn't been maintained, pretty much it has. Because if we look up here at our oil change sticker, They're only 58 miles past when that next oil change was. Well, we're going to at least go by miles. We don't know by length of time. But let's go ahead and scroll down. Look at the dash. Everything is so nice in here. It is such a great little car. All of our wood is in great shape. Got a few little spots that are going to show a few errors, little bit of cracking, maybe a little bit of wearing off there. But if we go down, we have a beautiful HVAC system. We've got a nice Jaguar labeled radio. And we've got this lovely delicate shifter for our automatic transmission. And we've got very simple ashtrays, one on each side. One gets a bubblegum wrapper, one gets some change and a button. And a toothpick is hanging out down there too. You'll see also we have our cruise control located here and our controls for the window and our roof. Do have some unfortunate cracking here, and this does happen with the nature of if you're out, you're visiting somewhere, you've left the top down, you've parked it in the sun, and that sun is evil. It will break stuff up in a heartbeat. As we look at the seats, they are a lovely gray, dove gray leather, and they have lovely rows of stitching going on. The leather isn't broken because, again, it's got 55,000 miles on here. This is so nice. Again, more dove gray on our door card, and I love the inlay on our wood. We have that regular darker color with a nice lighter stripe on the top and the bottom. What a nice and very difficult addition to add to the car. Back seat, well, we've got a few things going on back here, and one of them is no seat. There's no seat back here. This is a two-seater. Looks like we've got a lock there for our trunk space, but the top is in really pretty good shape. Got maybe a few marks or so, but being that it's cloth, it's a little bit harder to keep clean, especially when it's tan. Got a lovely growler there ready to bite your face off as you drive this car, but it's in really nice shape. I love that acrylic over that lovely metal design there. It is in really nice shape, not cracked, not broken or anything like that. So wow. I feel honored to have evaluated this car. This thing is perfect. You've got to hear this run. Let's let the wizard get in here and start this baby up.
These V12s, or really any V12, are really amazing. When they start, they don't have the staccato like we're used to hearing with a 4-cylinder or a V8. The firing order and everything is so smooth that it actually sounds like, some of us have heard engines in the past that have a broken timing chain, and when you go to start them, they go, and you're like, oh, I know something's wrong with this engine. These actually sound like something's wrong. It starts so smooth, but it's not. Take a listen, guys. Do you hear that? It just sounded like a whir, and then it came to life. Not all cars need everything fixed. This one here has a lot of going for it. It really has a lot going for it. It's in good condition. The paint is nice. It starts, it runs. It just needs gone through. The person who's now was the owner, who's now in the home, not able to take care of this car anymore, we're going to do them a good service and get it back the way it was before they had some medical issues. But I've run into this several times in the past where, unlike these customers, they're happy to get their loved one's car back on the road. But I've actually come across cars where a person has spent their life and a lot of money keeping it in pristine condition. Then something happens to their health. They can no longer take care of it. It gets handed down to a son, a daughter, a brother, or whoever. And as soon as they've seen the repair bills, what it's going to take, or what their loved one has spent all these years keeping this running, and they're like, hell no. That's not me. I'm not keeping this thing up like that. I'm not writing all these checks all the time every time something breaks. And these cars can actually go downhill really fast. We've all heard of the story. It's been sitting in a barn for 20 years. It hasn't ran. Grandpa died. The kids didn't want it. The grandkids didn't want it. They put up the middle fingers and said, hell no, I don't want that car. It's kind of sad. Luckily, that's not the case here. We'll get a price together and see what all they want to do. At the very least, it needs belts, it needs some suspension work so it's not clunking. We don't need to go through and restore the whole thing, but it definitely needs some service to get it back up to snuff. But even when we get all that done, like kind of the purpose of this whole video today, just to give you guys an idea of what you're getting into when you see $5,000 or $10,000 for this really cool car. You can spend that much a second time over, an additional $10,000. getting it sorted out and keeping it running very easily. As you can imagine, I love European cars, especially these older ones. They're really, really cool. There's just a style or a charm to them that you don't find on an American car. There's a reason why back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, when someone became wealthy, they didn't go buy a Chrysler or a Chevrolet. They went and bought one of these because they're special. There really are a lot of thought, time, engineering, styling that goes into these cars. They're not just cookie cutter cars to sell for a profit. There actually some passion that went into them. So hopefully going through this video will give you guys an idea. You're out there scoping out Facebook Marketplace. You found something like an Alfa Romeo Milano that came up for sale. You could be getting into a very, very deep, up to your neck in repairs and maintenance. However, there's a lot of people out there like Bill. They're not happy about the amount of money they spent on it, but they're happy that they did it. They really enjoy it. When they're driving, everything's working in this car. I've seen Bill, when we've gone out to dinner with him and he brings this car, he just has a smile on his face. He's so happy. He's like, I love this Milano. I think he believes that it's his most favorite car he's ever had. And he's had a lot of really cool cars. I guess it comes down to emotions. You're paying for a good feeling. Are you willing to do that? That's what the motto of this video is all about. If you're curious what kind of tools we use to work on any of these, or going to use to work on them, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. All the tools we use in the shop are listed for sale there. If you purchase any of them, we get a small cut and we really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's tons more cars in the shop, more videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.